It's considered one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, and the majority of men and women across the nation who are doing it are doing so for free. We're talking about firefighting. Here in Texas, 77% of firefighters are considered volunteers, and many can be found in rural areas just like West Texas.
Volunteer fire departments aren't run like your average city-owned and operated station either. And as CBS 7's DeAnn Lopez found out, it's not clear how much training some of these firefighters are getting.
Volunteer fire departments exist in nearly every county in the Permian Basin. These men and women dedicate countless hours to serve and protect their communities. Fighting a fire is no easy task. Just ask the nearly 800,000 men and women across the country who willingly suit up for no other reason than to protect their communities.
Pumper 10 respond to a 2-story dwelling.
Fires double in size every 60 seconds. So literally every second counts. We're getting a truck here quicker. Want to keep doing like we were doing.
John Bell and David Avery joined the South Ector Volunteer Fire Department 14 years ago and are now captains. Chief Tommy Sullivan has served for 33 years in Howard County.
I don't think people realize the commitment that it takes. Just because we're volunteer doesn't mean we're any less likely to get hurt. Fighting fire.
Underneath their smoke-infested trousers and boots, these firefighters are just like you and me, working 40-plus hour jobs to support their families. Sullivan directs Howard County's 911 emergency communications. Bell is a paramedic in Rankin, and Avery manages West Texas windshields in Midland. But unlike the rest of us, these three men sacrifice not only sleep, money, and time with loved ones, but even potentially their lives.
There was a structure fire that we were on one time, and me and the assistant chief at the time were inside of fighting the fire, and we had to move out of one of the rooms because the roof collapsed in on us. And at one point we thought we might not make it out.
It's open 100%.
Take it the way we're supposed to.
Situations like that show the importance of training.
Our training is what saves lives, is how we train, and learning what to do in all situations determines whether we go home to our families or we go to the hospital or to the morgue.
Hey, David, go ahead and turn on that deck gun.
There's no question that it takes a special person to be a volunteer firefighter, but how many are really qualified? The recent departure of the West Odessa volunteer fire chief prompted us to start asking questions about how the departments are run. We found out that unlike paid fire stations, volunteer departments aren't regulated by the state. Their only requirement is a monthly report to the county about how many runs they make.
So it's left up to each, what we call it AHJs, authority having jurisdictions, to keep up and manage and keep track of all the administrative side of things that people oftentimes don't realize.
Chris Barron runs the Texas Firefighters and Fire Marshals Association and has nearly 30 years of volunteer fire service under his belt. This association is the closest thing to a regulating body, but membership isn't mandatory. Unless a volunteer completes a state-regulated fire academy, the only way they can become certified is through the association's program. Barron looked up 6 volunteer departments from our area, and only half are members. Those are South Ector, Howard County, and Greenwood. Memberships for West Odessa, Alpine, and Northeast Midland have all expired.
We strive for excellence. We make sure that we provide them the tools as a volunteer fire department to get the certifications necessary through training held throughout the state, whether it is at their local fire department, an area school, or an annual school in College Station.
According to the organization's database, West Odessa doesn't have any certified firefighters. South Ector and Greenwood each have 1 certified firefighter who also works for the city's fire department full-time. Alpine has 1, Northeast Midland 2, and Howard County 17. And furthermore, we found out that Alpine and Howard County's chiefs are the only ones who are certified, while chiefs of the other departments are not.
Certainly we recommend at least a Firefighter 1 basic fire certification so that he or she knows the ins and outs of what's actually going on during an emergency, during an actual fire or some type of emergency. They can not only command and control a scene and actually know what's going on, but they know what's the basic equipment that a fire department has to have in order to survive, in order to do their job efficiently.
But after speaking with each department, we learned that funding and time are stopping many of these firefighters from becoming certified.
If we want to send someone off to go to class through an area school or to the A&M school in July, we have to pay their mileage, their food, their lodging. So that adds up. We get $18,000 a year. That pays the fuel, capital budget, and all the little ins and outs, utilities, that sort of thing. So it doesn't leave much for that kind of funding.
Each department gets some funding from their county, but says they need fundraisers and grants to keep their doors open. Barron says it would take roughly 300 hours of training and a couple $1,000s for a firefighter to get just their basic certification.
We're out here doing the best that we can. We're a first line defense. I mean, not everyone's going to be perfect at what they do, but we're here to help the community and do as best as we can to make sure that everyone's safe.
Each department claims they conduct training at least twice a month. However, only Howard County follows the association's certification guidelines exactly.
Training and certification are kind of two different things. I can get trained all I want, but if I don't apply that training to a certification that gives me a piece of paper that says I have met the minimum standards for that certification, then really, it's hearsay, and it's kind of you're just trusting that individual without knowing whether or not they have had any type of formal training or not.
Becoming a volunteer firefighter is definitely a calling, and although Barron says there's always room for improvement, these firefighters will be the first to tell you your protection is their first and only priority.
I'm here to help the community too, because you just never know. I mean, it could be one of them next, it could be me, and I want someone that's going to come and help me just as much as I'd go help them.
The South Ector firefighters tell me they are in the beginning stages of the association certification program. Their goal is to be certified within the next 12 to 14 months. Volunteer firefighters can become members of the association themselves for just $30 a year and $275 for a department. In the studio, DeAnn Lopez, CBS 7 News.
DeAnn, thanks very much. Our region has 29 volunteer fire departments. Of that number, 17 are active members of the State Firefighters and Fire Marshals Association of Texas. With all the departments combined, there are just over 380 volunteer firefighters. Only 65 are certified, according to the association. Again, certification isn't required of volunteer firefighters, but highly recommended by the association. For a breakdown of each department, you can head over to our website, cbs7.com.